right, hi everybody. David Fogel back with you, CEO of the Symphonina Foundation, back with another Symphonina Foundation podcast, and I'm joined today by world-renowned composer, pianist, and accordionist, Ronn Yedidia. Ron, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, David?
I'm doing great, and it is Memorial Day as we record, so happy Memorial Day to you and everybody listening. I hope it's a reflective and festive Memorial Day for everybody here in the United States. Ron, I want to ask you a question. You have a doctorate in musical arts from Juilliard. How did you get to Juilliard? Where did you start?
Well, I was in Israel and I had my plans of coming to the United States to study, and Juilliard was the target, and I applied for it. I got in, and I basically followed with 3 degrees from bachelor's to master's and eventually to the doctorate. It's called the Doctor of Musical Arts in Composition.
When you finished the Doctor of Musical Arts in Composition, did you feel like you had composition completely mastered at that point, or did you still have more to learn?
You know, it was a real crossroads for me at that time, because you're very heavily influenced by the atmosphere and the aspirations of composers and musicians at Juilliard. And you know, at that time it was strongly avant-garde, serial, and composers were very, very experimental in so many ways. And I did not always feel the same way. I was leaning toward things that are more tonal, that are more melody-oriented, more structurally harmonious, and things like this. So, but I did create in the more avant-garde idiom, and I had success with some of the pieces. And then coming to the end of it, Julia, the question was, what am I doing from this point on? So that quest took a few years before I actually made up my mind fully to delve into tonality again, you know, and take the route of maybe the old masters, we want to call it.
Yeah.
Melody, harmony, structure, and finding my own voice within it, which was totally natural and still is.
You know, for me, of course, melody is primary, really, for me to enjoy music, and everybody should find joy where they find it, right? So I'm not casting aspersions on anyone else's thing, but I do think it's very important, part of our mission at the Symphonina Foundation, to bring the joy of symphonic music to young audiences, meaning younger than you and me, Ron, that there be something that they remember, and it's hard to remember things that aren't melodic. So I definitely have a love and a fondness for your point of view there on, you know, melody being resonant, let's say, with you.
Yeah, it resonates from the recordings that I hear from the Symphonina and the composers. I can tell the affinity to beauty, to expression, to melodic clarity, to harmonic structure. All those things should be welcome, and you're doing it, and it's a blessing. And that's what I'm trying to do also with my students here in New York.
Yeah, let's talk about your students. I just want to say, you know, we'll have a chance to listen to your Grand Etude number 20, which you released possibly about 3 weeks ago now, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, we'll have a chance to listen to that together here on the show. I have had a chance to listen to it already, and it's fantastic, but we'll share it with all of our listeners in a second. I'll have a few questions about that with you, but let's talk about your New York Piano Academy. You founded it 20 years ago now.
21 years ago, in 2005, with my jazz partner, Haim Cotton. And the academy is solely for piano students, both classical and jazz. I must say we have quite more classical students than jazz students. I think jazz is still more of a rarity, a particular thing. But we're doing both, and it's been going for 21 years, and there's great success for our students on the national and international scene.
Do you have, I'm sure you must have fun doing it with your 20 years. Is it fair to compare the level of fun that you have doing that versus composing or performing yourself?
I'm not so sure it's always fun, to be honest.
Okay, all right.
You know, it can be arduous, you know, because it takes a lot of assisting, a lot of advising, a lot of repetition. It's a hard job to get, especially gifted pianists, you know, onto the level that's required today. You know, today, very, very competitive, very high level technically, and we're trying to do it as transcendingly as possible musically as well.
Well, I'm sure your students appreciate the arduousness of it. Or is that even a word? I don't know. Arduosity? We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up later.
They appreciate when they can appreciate.
Yeah, I know.
And
Not in the moment, maybe, but
yeah,
afterwards. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, I'm glad that you've done that and you're sticking with it too. I think it's great. And you must have a lot of great students to choose from. Are you selective about who you pick, or how do you choose who comes to your academy?
Well, our reputation has led, to the point where quite a few super gifted students end up with us and us preparing them for the next stages in their careers. So now we are really peaking. I can say that, we are not a big academy. We have about 40 students.
Okay.
And I would say about half of them are really extremely gifted young musicians that I hope all, or at least most, will end up continuing pursuing it successfully into their futures.
When you're coming to composition, and we'll talk about your grand etude here in a second. This is etude number 20.
Right.
What is your mindset when you come to composition of a classical framed piece like we're about to hear?
Well, it's one in a set of 24 grand etudes, and they were composed in two different patches of time. The early ones from the 90s, from number 1 through 12, they are I would say, transitional sort of style between my old times at Juilliard and the new times, where I was seeking more tonal routes and resolutions for my music. And they're very mystical also, I would say. Whereas the new group of numbers 13 to 24, to which number 20 belongs, were composed in the teens, like 2013 till about 2019.
Okay.
And those are more really heavily tonal, neo-romantic, and rooted in the music of, say, Rachmaninoff, Scriabin, and even Chopin,
Yeah.
Schumann, Ravel, Debussy, all the things that I love in piano music, with the technical challenges that etudes should present. So, in writing them, obviously I had some sort of a script of something that offers a variety of technical devices and patterns for the pianist to exploit in a fashion that combines true romanticism, something that you can really love, enjoy, resonate with, just like you do when you play a Rachmaninoff or a Chopin, but obviously with new things of today, because we've been listening to music of all sorts, and I'm never discriminative of any good sound, and there's jazz falling into it. There could be, even things from pop music or Broadway or movies or Hollywood,
Yeah.
that come into it of today. So I believe it's a modern version of what you may call romantic music of today.
Yeah. Before we take a listen, you have a guest pianist on your piece here. Can you tell us a little bit about Stephen Buse?
Stephen Buse, definitely one of the best American pianists of his generation. He's a very highly awarded pianist. He's also a professor of piano at BYU in Utah. And he's triumphed my piano music for the past 10 years, and has done it gloriously with some of my grand etudes, like number 7, The Flight Over the Ocean, and he world premiered my Fantasy. And then I dedicated etude number 20 for him, because I dedicate every etude to another pianist, some of whom I know, some of whom I just admire. And he's definitely one I both know and admire. And it was dedicated to him. And fortunately, to all of us, he decided to record it and put it out on this late album that's produced by BYU. They have their own series. And it's one of the pieces in an album that's called Untold Stories.
Okay. Well, let's go listen to Stephen Buse, his fantastic playing on your wonderful piece, Grand Etude number 20. Yeah, okay. So that was, I mean, that was great playing. So so like you said, Ron, there's influences Rachmaninoff. I hear Chopin, maybe a little Liszt. Did you have a little Liszt in mind too?
Course.
Yeah. Okay.
Always, always. Listen and Chopin are equals for me.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're composing like that, do you come in with that mindset of them, or is it embedded in you already from all the setting that you've done, and you just know what you want, and it already encompasses those feelings?
They all flow very naturally. Of course, there are ideas running in your head, but there's also energies running through your fingers or through my fingers in this
Yeah.
sense. So I'm always composing sat at the piano and experimenting with it. Very strong melodic ideas, strong structural ideas, harmonic progressions and things like this, and the music just flows. And when you write a set, obviously you are zooming on the differences between the various settings because you want each one of them to represent something. So this one, represents the freedom of melody with arpeggiation in the left hand, more in the course that you'd find maybe in Chopin's Prelude number 19, E flat major, and other pieces, or Liszt's transcendental etudes.
Well, it's fantastic. I noted that in your past you have an album, Yedidia Plays Yedidia, and
Right.
I just have to ask you, like, when you write, I mean, this is a question out of ignorance. When you write an etude or anything, do you write to your own ability? Do you write beyond your ability? Because I write beyond my ability. I'll just tell you right now. Like I've been playing piano for a long time. I'm nowhere near you or Stephen, but I have an appreciation for what I can do and what I can't do, and I
Right.
figure, well, if I'm writing beyond me, I'm gonna, that's fine. It's just not for me anymore. But how about yourself? Do you write for yourself
It's
or?
it's a very good question, and I would say the answer can be split in two. I'm writing within my abilities because I've had a vast experience as a virtuoso pianist myself, playing Liszt piano
Yeah,
concertos, Chopin etudes, and all that. But I'm also writing with a vision of what I would like myself to be able to do that I haven't done yet.
very good.
So I'd like to stretch it to the next level where I can offer the pianist somewhere to go to that they may have not yet visited.
That's very good. I can't let us go too much longer without asking you about the accordion because it's such seemingly a departure from classical composition and jazz pianos. I guess the accordion starts to bridge over from the jazz piano, but how did you get to the accordion?
It was my first instrument. My
Ah,
father
okay.
was my father was an accordionist, and
Uh-huh.
he introduced the instrument to me when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
And I quickly picked up the instrument, which is, it's a complex thing to do because the two systems, right and left hand, are more varied than the ones on the piano that are equal, because you have the buttons on the left hand that act more like a bass guitar
Yeah.
or a band.
Yeah.
And I actually played popular classical works on the accordion, like the
Nice.
Turkish March, like Brahms, Hungarian Dance Number
Okay.
5,
Okay.
Flight of the Bumblebee,
That
things
would
like
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
So the accordion can go in different directions. Later on, I developed, more of an involvement with other music, like ethnic music, klezmer music. And some fusion. Even in my ensemble called Danza Nova, I'm exploring all sorts of new fusions of style and improvisation. So it's a great instrument, and one that I feel very connected with. And it's like a band. Piano could be compared with an orchestra. The piano can really emulate and expand or reimagine things that you do as an orchestral writer or when you conduct it. Whereas the accordion is more like a band, like people on the street dancing or
Yeah.
in events. And so I feel like I'm playing a little band when I play the accordion.
It's great. Have you kept up on the accordion then over all these years too?
Very much so, very much so. I have an ensemble called, as I said, Danza Nova, where I
Yeah.
compose for it, or we take world music or folk
Uh-huh.
and rearrange it. And I can tell you that when I was a child and a teenager, I performed both instruments on the same night, some accordion and some piano. And lately, I was asked to give a lecture recital on both instruments, and I gave it to a group of medical doctors in New York
Uh-huh.
that took great interest. And it was very interesting to compare the two instruments and even play the same pieces that really sound different going from one to the other.
Yeah. Well, like I say, every instrument is beautiful, even a triangle when played well. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you
Yeah.
have planned for the rest of 2026, Ron?
Well, that might take you by surprise. I'm starting my own orchestra, chamber orchestra
Oh,
here in New York,
terrific.
where I want, yeah, and I want to present works that I love, some of mine, some of my colleagues and students that I believe in. And the direction is to engage the audience and also have the audiences involved in expressing their feelings about the music, as I feel that much of the contemporary music today that is presented to audiences by major orchestras are not ever a choice of the audience, but rather, the end tale of a certain process, sometimes political, that brings this music to the audience, and it's played, and much of it I don't find engaging, and the audience does not have a say about whether they liked it or not, whether they would like to hear it again or not. So we want to change that spirit. We want to change the direction with starting a really solid orchestra with the choices of music I believe in, and bringing it to an audience, and also asking the audience to take part in it and express their feelings about music. Thus, maybe lead the way to writing that can engage audiences more than we unfortunately see today in so many places. And excuse my critical tone about that.
When do you expect the first performances to begin then?
Right now, we're talking about April of 2027, and for
Okay.
that one, I'm probably going to have my violin concerto in its world premiere.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we'll be here to help you promote that whenever you're ready. Ron, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I mean, I have a website, www.ronnyedidia.com, and you spell my name Ronnyedia, which is not easy. Or, if I get to know someone, then I'm very happy to hand my personal contact to them, or by email, yedidia@aol.com, Yedidia@aol.com.
It's nice to have someone who has one of those AOL.com addresses still around.
I know.
It's a cherished antique at this point. Before we
Yeah.
let you go, we're going to listen to some more of your great music on the way out. But I want to ask you a little bit about the jazz side of things, too, because we listened to a little bit on the jazzy side on the way in, and we're going to listen on the way out, too. And I want to know, where did you make that crossover between classical performance and jazz performance? And do you still compose a lot of new jazz things, too?
Yes. Well, that happened to me early in my life when I was first subject to the playing of Oscar Peterson.
Okay.
And that followed with the developments in jazz and fusion in the late 70s with Chick Corea
Yep.
and Keith Jarrett and Jaco Pastorius and Weather Report. So I started writing in that vein, and I composed that piece called Prophets. And actually was one of the winners in the first Israeli Jazz Festival in Jerusalem. And then when I came to New York to study at Juilliard, I formed a quartet called Prophets with a great flutist called Mark Stocker. And then the great and famous bass player Daryl Jones, who played for Miles Davis and now with the Rolling Stones for many years, and a great drummer called Tal Bergman, who's an Israeli. And another great producer, Thomas Frost, was the first person to produce this music of mine, which is actually a breed between classical and jazz music with a strong emphasis on jazz and fusion. And we've been around for many years, but lately issued our first album. Took a long time, but now it's out, and it's called Prophets, and
Nice.
it's on the Truth Revolution Records collective label, and available for anybody to hear it. It's a highly virtuosic, very third stream crossover thing. I love writing in this idiom. It's a terrific diversion from writing classical music or any other thing.
Well, the combination of the third stream, the combination of jazz and classical music, it's great. We appreciate it every time we hear it here. So that's great. We wish you all the best. And we do wish you all the best, Ron. Thank you so much for your permission to perform that Grand Etude number 20 today. I really appreciate that. And as we listen on the way out here, if there's anything we can do with the Symphonina Foundation to be of help to you, just let us know.
My own pleasure. Thank you for hosting me and looking forward to great things in the future.